I'm back now with the panel. And Corey, let me start with you. The controversial tweet that he sent initially, Dwayne Wade's cousin, Dwayne was misspelled, was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I've been saying, African Americans will vote Trump. 2 hours later, he sent out another tweet attempting to clean it up, express sympathy. Can you understand why there were so many people that took that tweet and thought it was just callous?
I can, but let's look at the bigger picture. And Donald Trump's talked about this. The number of U.S. soldiers who've died in Afghanistan from 2001 to 2015 is actually less than the number of people who've been killed in Chicago from 2012 to 2016. We need to do something to protect our families. We need to do something to protect our homeland. And one more person dying in Chicago is one too many. And what he's talking about, and what he has said is, he's doing outreach to the African-American community. The last poll has him at 8%, which, granted, is a long way to go. But Mitt Romney got 6%, John McCain got 4%. He is making inroads to that community because people are tired of not being able to walk down their streets with safety.
What do you say, Mr. Mayor?
I have no evidence to indicate that he's making inroads in the African-American community. When he speaks about African-Americans, he almost always speaks about crime and poverty and welfare. And when he speaks about them, he usually speaks to a white audience. So I don't have any indication that he's moving up in the polls with respect to African Americans.
A long time ago, Abby, I thought that Donald Trump actually could potentially do better with the African American community than Mitt Romney or John McCain, but it doesn't seem to have taken place.
Not at all. I mean, it really goes back all the way to the birther stuff. I mean, that really is, for many African Americans in this country, pretty clear. What they view it very clearly as an attempt to delegitimize the first African-American president. But beyond that, I mean, I think the challenge for Donald Trump is also that African-Americans also view the country and its future much more positively than other groups, especially than whites. And so it's hard to take a message that is fundamentally pessimistic to African Americans who view themselves as moving toward a country that is better for them on average than it was in the past. This idea of Make America Great Again is challenging for Donald Trump to transfer to the African American community, because when they look back 40 years, they see America that didn't work for them, that wasn't great for them. Many of them were in segregated schools, segregated communities, didn't have the full right to vote. They were living in poverty not just because of the leadership in urban cities, but because of laws and regulations, discrimination in lending and in housing that held back African American communities. So they're looking forward, and they're seeing not a perfect country, but a country that is getting better.
Matt, how do you view Mr. Trump's outreach to the African-American community in the last week or so?
You know, I think you put your finger on it, Jake, a minute ago. I thought he could make better inroads. So as a general rule, it seems preordained that I'm wrong about everything regarding Donald Trump. And one thing, you know, I'll just say that up front, and one thing I think you're getting at is that he would be a much stronger, more inclusive general election candidate, because I thought that after the primaries were done, you know, I don't like the word, it's not so much pivot, I actually thought he was just going to respawn. I don't think he has a strong ideology, and I actually think he's such a good entertainer and understands audiences so well. I thought he would have a better sense of who his wider audience was. I just think it's late. I don't think anything they've done since this latest change in leadership is the wrong instinct, actually. I disagree with people who think it's crazy. I don't. I just think it's late, and I think the window at some point is closing.
Corey, I'll give you the quick last word.
Jake, I think what Donald Trump is asking for is an opportunity. 26.4% of the African-American population lives in poverty right now. There are 4 million more African-Americans staying on food stamps than there were when Barack Obama took office. What he's saying is, give me an opportunity to try and make a change. That's what he's asking for, and I think both Republicans and Democrats have taken the African-American vote for granted for a long time.
All right, great panel. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Corey, Abby, Matt, thank you so much.